Welcome to Perspective with Derwin L. Webb. I am Derwin L. Webb. We are here at the Fraser Museum, and we have an opportunity to speak to some very special guests for this week. It's not too often that I get a chance to talk to my brothers, so it's a great opportunity to bring back to Louisville my brother Mike Case, Cornelius Holden, and Everett Sullivan. Guys, welcome back to Louisville.
Thank you.
Happy to be back. Happy to be back.
You know, it's funny, you guys are acting like you're actually on camera for real. we just kind of chop it up a little bit. I know we don't have James Brewer here because he will be our fifth brother in the whole thing. But, you know, it's just an opportunity to get together and talk about times, you know, when we first got together, how we got together, and how we're still together today. So I throw the first question out. What made you decide to come to the University of Louisville? Case, I'll start with you.
Well, of course, Louisville was the biggest school that came after me. And I just remember Coach Crummy did like a Columbo moment where he walked out and come, one more thing. He said, this is in 87, he's like, I can count on one hand how many players have not witnessed a Final Four in the last 10 years I've coached at Louisville. He said that I could lose every game for the next 10 to 15 years and still be over 500. He goes,
I think he said that to all of us, by the way.
And he said, I've won 5 national championships, 2 of my own at UofL, 3 under John Wooden, who I was not only a player but assistant coach under. And he walked out, my high school coach, pretty much in a roundabout way, just said, "You're an idiot if you don't go. That's a class act." So I didn't even think about the talent that was going to be there, the talent that was already there. I was like, I'm going to UofL. So that's kind of how it started with me.
Corn?
I think with myself, you know, I visited UCLA, I visited Arizona, Washington, and I think when I met Coach Crum and Coach Houston when they used to come to my high school games, I think I just decided to myself that I did not want to remain in California. And when I came here on my visit, I just noticed that the fans here, it just seemed like it was a bit different. So I really liked it, and being away from home, I just think the fans here made me feel more welcome. So that's a big reason why I came to UofL.
B?
I think, you know, I tell a story all the time. I took 5 visits, and I would open a newspaper up. You know, back in the days, they had a newspaper in front of them. When you're at the hotel, you wake up in the morning, put the newspaper down in front of your door. I would grab the newspaper, see what was in the sports section. Now, I was from football country, so basically out of the 4 schools that I were looking at, 4 of those 5, out of the 5, I would pick the news. It would be football on the front page until I visited Louisville. And they were talking about the recruits that were here, the upcoming season, all the talent. It was abundant. It was very obvious that it was a basketball state. And me coming from the football world in South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, I wanted to see and I wanted to feel that show of support. And I thought, you know, I knew it was there. I watched Louisville win the championship in '86, and they've been on my, you know, they were on my list from day one. I love the style of play, so it was an obvious fit for me. Just wanted to get further enough away into a place to where it was basketball centered, and the people love the game, love basketball, love college basketball. They love the University of Louisville.
What was your first impressions of the university or of us, to be honest with you? Because I don't know when your recruiting visit was, but you and I came in on our recruiting visit together, and I didn't know what to think. I'm thinking, okay, this guy about my size, we're going to play about the same position, but you were cool as I don't know what. But we hit it off, and then we got a chance to meet again during the Derby Classic. But what was your impressions of us when you got together? Corn, let's go with you first.
I mean, as far as teammates? Or
just
teammates,
school
in general?
Us together, and we can talk about.
Well, I think
that.
all of us was coming from different backgrounds. You know, you was from Indiana, Mike was from Indiana, Boo was from Kentucky, Everett was from South Carolina, and myself from California. I just think that we connected instantly. I mean, I think we knew it was going to be competition, and I think that's what brought all of us here is that we all wanted the competition to come to UofL. And I think more than anything, we formed a brotherhood early, and I think that's why we still feel the same way about each other today.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, you know, you wouldn't have chose to come to Louisville if you didn't understand what the level of competition you were going to face, whether it was there prior or it was there coming in with you. And if you was afraid of that, then you probably made a wrong decision. It was a lot of pride taken, and I came from that world where I wanted people to you know, I played the game for the fans per se, and that meant something for me to have 20,000 in Freedom Hall every time we played a home game, and for us to have a national televised schedule that where my mom, if she couldn't make it, she just turned on ABC, CBS, and she saw the games. But in terms of us, I think because we all came in together, there's a natural connection, there's a natural bond, and we knew that, and we were going to watch out for each other. But once you stepped on the courts, in between the lines, then we all knew what it was. It was time for us to compete.
Mike, what about you?
Eric said it. I mean, I think that the bottom line is that there was an instant bond. I mean, there's 5 of us. We come in as freshmen. I know you and I, being from Indiana, we decided to redshirt our freshman year. You know, when people would ask me about redshirt, I'm like, redshirt? But I wasn't thinking about, and I hadn't been presented to the level of talent that was here. But one thing I knew for certain was we all 5, this is all new to us, and it was just an instant bond. And it's one of those things that just carried over, not just at practice, but after practice in the dorm. But I will say, even though we were boys outside and we knew that we had each other's back, come to practice, I was just telling Eric the other day that, you know, if I had to guard him in practice, even though we were tight, acted like boys before practice, man, it was on in practice. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought we were cool and shit. You know, he's taking me to the rack and dunking on me and shit.
I know what you're saying, but you know, it's one thing to know about the competition, and then it's one thing to actually see the competition.
Yes.
Because when you're out there, you know, you're doing layups and stuff like that, summer league, stuff like that, everything's cool, and then you see Corn hit the top of the backboard, or you see Everett come down, dunk or something, yelling at somebody at the same time. So the competition was crazy, but, you know, in the age of the transfer portal, I don't think I would have transferred because a situation like this, to be able to be around you guys, and we were friends, we all wanted to play. No doubt about it, we all wanted to play, but we made each other better while we were out there at the same time. So I think that's one of the things that stood out about our group more than anything else.
And I'll say, Derwood, just me having the less amount of playing time than any of y'all, people ask me, Case, if you could do it all over again, would you go to UofL? Man, I don't even hesitate because of this right here.
I'll ask you a question. We played against a lot of competition, a lot of great players. Who do you think was the best player we played with, best player we played against?
Our best teammate?
Best player we played with, best player we played against.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I won't say one, because when you play with so many good players. Now, Purvis Ellison was Perv. Like, you know, I remember one practice where Perv just basically said there will be no layups today. You know what I mean? And being young, I'm like, what are you talking about? Ain't no layups. I'm gonna get me a dunk. I'm getting to the rim. It was no layups. I mean, he probably blocked 12 or 15 shots in that one practice. He just got tired and he started letting people score. You know, on any given day, LeBradford might have been just his accolades from high school, his high jumping records and his athleticism and how dynamic he was. I hadn't really faced or seen or played with a guy of that level, you know, in a long time. And, you know, you could go to Crawford Gym at any given night, you're going to see a potential pro walkthrough. Some guys never made it to the NBA that had just as much talent as guys who did. So it's hard to pinpoint. We played with so many good guys and guys that could really, really play the game. In terms of against, I say it all the time. Like, I mean, I had to check Kenny Anderson. I had to check, you know, the people on the pool, Richardson, Walt Wizard, Rodney Rogers, Brian Stiff, David Booth at DePaul, who gave us numbers. We just couldn't figure. He had such an awkward game, but he could put the ball in.
That guy an All-American.
Yeah,
We put him in the league.
I mean, so it was. But now that I look back on it, I give Coach Crum a lot of credit for willing to play those type teams.
Right.
And that says a lot about it.
Yeah,
UNLV. That might be the most talented team we've ever played. The UNLV team.
And I was going to add, as far as our team, I think on a given day, anyone can look like the best player. I mean, whether it was Everett, you know, Derwin, you on a given day. I mean, I think Felton. I mean, Jerome.
You can go on.
I mean, you can go on and on. On a given day, anyone in that practice could look like the best player in practice. But I would say for myself, playing against certain guys that stood out to me was having to guard Shaq.
What was that experience like?
I remember that.
I mean, I remember Shaq tried to intimidate me at the jump ball. And I was the one who showed Shaq around on his visit here in Louisville. So,
Crazy.
Larry Johnson at UNLV, I think that stood out. I mean, that was a tough challenge.
Larry Johnson almost cost me my eyesight. He hit me with the backhand of his. He went up. We stripped the ball up, and he followed through and caught me with the backhand of his, the back of his hand, and I felt like I got hit with 4 bricks.
Yeah.
I immediately said, "Come get me, sub me out the game." I had to get myself. But he was a man. He was a man among.
Hey, Larry
boys
Johnson.
at
I
the
remember
time.
getting in the game against Larry Johnson. I don't know what year it was, but I got in. I had the pleasure of guarding Larry Johnson. All I know is it's national TV. I whips around, I shoot a 3, air ball. But I swear to God, he nipped it with his finger. But anyway, I got back to the door, and this is before cell phones, and my answer machine was blinking full. Everybody's giving me a hard time about shooting an air ball on national TV. I'm like,
That's good.
"Man,
I
Larry
played against that. It wasn't a pleasure at all.
Yeah,
I remember
Larry,
that.
Yeah.
Larry, Shaq.
Yeah,
I did shoot a 3, hit a 3 on Walt Williams. And then my biggest claim to fame was Jamal Mashburn coming down on the left, right in front of his bench, threw his shot. I remember seeing him at the Kentucky Derby the next year. I'm like, "Hey, man, what's up?" And he's like, "Mike Case." "Who?" I was like, "You play at Louisville, remember? You don't remember me blocking your shot last year?" And he's like, "Shit, I don't remember that." I blocked it. I got a video.
Okay, let's
to
talk
show.
about memories. Most memorable moment, sports-wise.
Mine is automatic. I got 2. Maui Classic
Maui Classic, Florida State.
in Florida State.
Uh-huh.
It was, I tell people, if you go back and look at the game, I wasn't even supposed to be in. Tony Kimbrough fouled out. Coach Crum looked down. I kept looking at him, trying to get him. And I was having a good game, but he was going with his more experienced guys. I get it. And I just kept trying to make eye contact with Coach. He looked me off. I'm like, "I'm ready, man." It was close, though. The game was close, probably last 4 minutes. And I look at he looked me off again. Finally, he had to put me in because Kimbrough fouled out, I think. Somebody fouled out, and he put me in the game. And I actually happened to hit the shot and have the dunk. That's my most memorable moment here. And that's the moment most people, they probably remember it because it was just, we celebrated. We ran off the court. It was such a high-level game. They had pros. We were ranked, 9th and 8th in the nation at that time. And it was just a big-time game. So it was an awesome memory.
I remember Maui Classic, I even told Everett after that game, would you have 34 or something?
Yeah,
like that?
35.
I was like, "Man,
35.
you're going to the league, man." He
Yeah,
goes,
yeah.
"Man, it's a long journey, Case."
Yeah,
He
yeah.
goes, "Man, we can't, But I was like so impressed. As a freshman coming out like that.
I think for myself, I think it was our first game in the Big Four Classic. It was a freshman when we played against, I believe it was Indiana. And I had never played in a dome like that. I think it was like 50,000 people in there. And I'm just looking at the crowd like, wow. But once the game started, I was able to block all of that out. And I would say my second most memorable moment was when we played Southern Miss. I didn't realize I went 14 for 14. I was just playing in the game. And at that time, I found out later that I was an NC2A record, 14 out of 14 with no misses. But in the heat of the game, I was just playing. But to be able to set any type of record in college basketball, that's definitely a memory.
Quick plug, if anybody out there got that game, please send it to Judge Webb. We're looking for that 14-14 game for Corn.
We can't get that from Klein anywhere?
It's hard. We just can't find it. We've been on the hunt for it. So if anybody's happen to record it.
Anybody watching, get that game to us, please.
VHS, we'll take care of it.
Okay, funniest moment while you were here.
I'll start. Look,
I know
I
you
was
got
kind of the clown
stories,
on the
so.
team, right? I try to keep everybody's spirit up. I mean, we could tell stories, but that's between us, right? A lot of half the stories, but something that most people, I've shared the story. They'll say, "Hey, man, tell me that story about Coach Crum and about how you had a nighttime job and you worked at UPS and he helped you out and how you went to him because." It was 3 o'clock in the morning, right? I had to get there at 3 o'clock. And if you worked at UPS, it's like the Flintstones, man. You freaking check in, you check out, you just get the heck out. And I remember just sitting there, just waiting at the couch, waiting for 3 o'clock or 2:30 to leave because I don't want to get there too early and you don't want to get there late. And I'd sometimes fall asleep. So I was like, man, I need a job in between that. And so I go to Coach. I'm like, "Hey, Coach, I appreciate you getting me the contact to get there, that job at UPS. I worked in loss prevention, which, I got my degree in justice administration, which would have been a nice gig. And, eventually after I graduated and stuff. But anyway, I go, "Coach," I explained this to him, what I just said about I need something up until 3 o'clock to keep me up and so I don't fall asleep and go to work late. And he goes, son, what kind of job do you want? You want a job at White Castle or a gas station? I go, Coach, never mind. Forget it. But anyway, that's one of the funnier moments. It involves Coach, but
Yeah. I would say one of my funniest moments was it involves Coach Crum and Felton, rest in peace, Coach, and Felton. I remember Coach Crum had a special belt built for Felton that went around his waist. It was like a hula hoop type thing, and it was like things sticking up. And Coach Crum was trying to teach Felton how to keep the ball up because Felton used to always bring the ball down. Mm-hmm. And he didn't want Felton to get the ball stripped. Mm-hmm. And I remember Felton running around in practice with this big thing. He could barely run because the thing was all the way he couldn't run. And I remember after about 30 minutes of practice, Coach Crum was telling Felton, you got to keep the ball up. And I remember Felton just ripped that thing off. So I'm done with this. He pretty much just walked out of practice for briefly and came before he came back. But that was definitely something that was memorable.
Mine involves Derwin, man, and me and him. So, we didn't have vehicles. Corn didn't have a vehicle coming in. I didn't have a vehicle. Only a couple guys on the team had cars. And you always respect the guys who got cars who will allow you to drive their cars, whether it's go to McDonald's or go out. Like, you got to be respected in some sort of way. Well, Derwin was such an awesome person. He let me and Corn use his car to make a little trip. Well, it's during the winter time, and in Louisville, the weather's a little tricky. We're not adjusted quite yet to driving in the weather where it looks like it's dry, but the road might be a little icy or whatever the case may be. And what do you do if you're going this way? Should you turn the wheel this way? Well, the car hit some ice, and we're sliding. Corn's in the passenger seat, and this is like. It's like a movie for me. Like it is going in slow motion. This car is sliding, and all I can see is I get closer and closer to the back of this truck. I start screaming like somebody can help me, and I didn't know I was screaming at the time. And the Cords told me that I was
screaming on the dump. It sounded like how he screamed on his dump.
He's got a high-pitched scream too.
Screaming like he was
so we hit the car. Boom! It didn't really do a lot of damage, but enough. But the drive back to the dorm to have to tell Webb we crashed this car was the worst feeling you could ever feel in your life. Like, it was just, I felt so bad. Webb, man, we crashed the car. Dude, we sorry, whatever we need to do.
I thought you were joking at first.
Did you tell me how? Yeah, what did you?
I remember you telling me it happened. I thought you were joking at first. You were like, nah, Webb. It's out in the parking lot. So I go and look at him like,
you handled it great, man. I don't know what you did on your own, but you didn't go off on us. You didn't call us.
It was no use. You guys were my brother. You didn't do it on purpose. I knew that. There was nothing I could do about it.
That's what he said last night when he shared the story.
That was a bad feeling.
It was a bad feeling, but it felt good though to have a teammate that handled it that way. Because most people would. I'll be honest. I don't know if I would have handled it like that. I probably would have lost. But Webb was like, man, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. And we did. We got it done.
Hey, I got to share something real quick. I love Boo, right? It's my brother, but I got to share this. This is kind of a funny story now that I look back. But I had a truck, and so I loaned it out. Hey, I want to go out to Jefferson Mall, Oxmoor Mall, whatever. Case, can I borrow your truck? Sure. Boo was like, hey man, I'm gonna run to the Jefferson Mall. Can I borrow your truck? Sure. This is before cell phones, right? The only way we had contact with each other's car, dorm room and stuff.
The dorm room.
Man, the next thing I'm like, man, it's 9 o'clock. Boo ain't called me. Where's my truck? I don't have his dad's number. I can't get a hold of him in Bardstown. Man, all of a sudden he pulls up at Sunday. This is a Friday. He pulls up Sunday. And I was going to go home and visit the family that weekend. He was just going to Jefferson Mall. He had my truck the whole weekend, went to Bardstown, saw his family and stuff. He didn't tell me or nothing. I'm sitting there wondering where my truck was. Didn't know how to get a hold of him at home.
Oh, man. Those were the days.
God love him.
Hey, let me ask you something. Did you guys remember the story about Kimbrough and Billy Thompson?
No.
You guys ever hear that story?
I've heard that story. You did the Star lineup story?
Yes.
I've
You guys have never heard that story?
I've heard that story.
The story was that Billy was practicing. Coach Crum got upset with him in practice, and so he tells Billy, you're not starting the next game. Next game comes around. They announce who the starting line was. So they announced at 6'7" from Louisville, Tony Kimbrough. Kimbrough gets ready to run out. He gets up. No. I'm starting.
Yeah.
Billy Thompson runs out to the half court,
kidding.
and then they come back in the huddle, and Billy, Coach Crum goes, well, we decided we're going to let Billy start this game.
I never heard that.
I've heard that story.
That's awesome.
I've heard that story.
Let me ask you this. I know, Corn, you're a basketball coach.
Yes.
Sully, obviously,
Yeah.
you're a basketball coach. I know you got a son playing basketball right now that's interested in playing college. What do you think about the state of college basketball right now? And I want to start with you, E, since you're a college basketball coach. What do you think about the state of college basketball?
It's a moving target. Like there's no perfect way to get something done or to put a team together or to build a program. It used to be when you got into coach, you always talked about building a program. Mm-hmm. It's a lot harder nowadays to build a program. And when I say build a program is bring in your type guys, even if they're not talented enough, and you may not win immediately. You remember the phrase back when Philadelphia was trust the process? Mm-hmm. Like, nobody, they say that, but trusting the process is not really a thing anymore because everybody wants to win. It's almost like a year-to-year thing. How do you find a way to win next year?
And Kansas State messed that up by being able to turn it around in a year like that.
And it happens to some. It happens to some, but it's harder. And you got to hit everything right at the perfect time. Everything's got to fall together at the perfect time. And the second thing that causes so much problem is the immediate is the fans and the supporters want immediate success because of social media. So when you see Kansas State doing it immediately, you think Louisville or Kentucky or North Carolina should be doing the exact same thing. And that's not the case. I mean, Virginia playing a certain style. Syracuse is one. Everybody, you can win a lot of different ways, but sometimes it just doesn't happen as fast. And when you're getting bombarded by pressure from social media and people saying, hey, you should be winning. You got this. And and I get it, they're pouring in money and the resources and all these facilities. That doesn't necessarily guarantee you immediate success. And even what's enough? Even if you have a great year, you make the Elite Eight, you still got people who are not happy. Right. So, coaching has become a lot harder. It's the mentality, the kids, the developmental piece of it. Do you go G League? Are you searching for, it used to be, hey, we're preparing you for life after basketball too now. Mm-hmm. Well, how can you do that when you transfer in so many places? You're losing credit. Those credits going, you're a junior right now, you transfer, you got to go back and start over possibly as a sophomore. Mm-hmm. So what happened to the life after basketball and getting the degree part of it? Mm-hmm. You see what I mean? Nobody talks about those type things, and those are the conversations that are hard to have because at the end of the day, we all know it's a business. Look at the Pac, look at
the Pac-4.
Yeah, exactly. So they're chasing TV contracts and they're chasing money. And I think the kids have a little bit of it both ways right now. They're taking some of the power out of the coach's hands, to be honest with you, because you can come in and leave if you're unhappy, but you can also come in and leave if you play well at the same time. Yeah. So it's a tough dilemma, and I think every coach is trying to figure out what's the best way to do it for their program.
Corn, what about you coaching these kids now, trying to go to college?
I think it's different. First of all, it's totally different from when we played. I mean, I think it's more of you're not just coaching to develop players now. I think coaches now are trying to keep players. Because I think with myself, even coming from high school and even coming here, it was always a challenge. I mean, you knew that there was someone in your position. You knew that every coach was going to challenge you. And I think when we were playing, we stuck it out. We was going to fight through it. It was more of, okay, if something's not right, I'm going to figure it out. Where I think in today's game, there's just so many different options of being able to go to a different school, whether it's a different high school, different AAU team, different college. I just think that's the mentality of the player now. And especially with the NIL now, I mean, I'm not saying we would have asked for anything then, but I think a little extra change would have helped all of us. Mm-hmm. But I would have never based my decision as far as college on the NIL. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, it was more about, do I enjoy the university? Do I enjoy my teammates? Do I enjoy the coaching? That's what it's all. That's what I was thinking when I was playing. Where today, I think the mentality of the player is not like that. I can't say they're right or wrong, but I'm just, from my experiences, that I was challenged in high school. I was challenged here also at UofL, but I just figured out a way to just fight through it.
Case, how are you preparing your son?
Well, you know, the challenging part is I coached my son growing up, and then I coached 6th grade and 7th grade. By default, they just asked me to coach. I'm back in my hometown, and you know, I think Everett's the one that gave me the advice when he coached with Coach Hunter. And he was RJ. He told him, after each game, do you want me to be coach or do you want me to be dad? And I used that same philosophy. And it got to the point where my son was always like, I want you to be dad. I'm like, all right, every time after the third time you say that, the next time it's going to be coach. So as far as Cannon goes, I just look at the way the game's changed. And, you know, you got the portal, you know, you got your people transferring, getting their 6th year, or graduates, and they're getting ready to go play somewhere else. So if that was the case for me back when I played, I probably wouldn't have been at Louisville. I mean, I probably would have been like at a MAC conference or something less, and you know, the opportunity wasn't there as much. So it's going to be a little bit harder for my son, who's still trying to figure it out. He's growing and getting stronger and getting better every day, but is he there yet to be getting looks at, you know, Division 1, 2, 3 right now? I don't know, but I wasn't either at that age. But it's one of those things where now it's just a matter of just keeping confidence, keeping him rolling, because you don't want to take your foot off that gas, because if you do, then you're going to think, what if? And so now it's just keeping the confidence, keeping him going, and that kind of thing. And then having teammates, right, that coach, getting advice from them. I mean, I've reached out to Coach Payne, but, you know, these guys here, and Boo, you know, that's coaching right now, what's the biggest thing I need to do to keep this kid motivated, to keep his confidence up? Because, you know, as you know, confidence is everything. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, just trying to keep his confidence up.
Well, let me ask you a question, totally off the subject, but it relates to Louisville itself. You guys come back here every year. Mm-hmm. I think that it goes without saying that Louisville is very important to you. What makes you come back here every year?
The relationships that we developed while we were here. It was me coming to college, for most young men coming in from my situation in particular, everybody's different. Somewhat of a single household, the man of the family going, but not really being the man of the family, having to go off to school and try to find a way that's continually possibly come back and help my family. It was a very integral part of my growth and development as a man. And if you didn't surround yourself with the right people, you can make one wrong decision or one good decision, right, that could take you in two different directions. Mm-hmm. I remember Coach Crum and the staff and all my brothers who helped me stay the course. And, you know, whether it was, let me use your car, because I can't afford one. We don't have one. And you understood that. Or, hey, I need to get into coaching, and a guy comes and gives me advice about a job opportunity somewhere, and all of a sudden that takes me to the left. That's what it's all about, because that basketball is going flat sooner or later. Mm-hmm. And then what do you have? Do you have a support system? Do you have a university? Do you have a community of support that's going to figure out a way to help you if you've done what you're supposed to do? And me getting my degree and then going on to get my master's, like, that's what you're trying to pour into others, you know what I mean? So it's about the relationships, checking on each other. Ever since COVID, it kind of opened up our eyes. We lost a lot of people. We lost our brother Felton. Yeah. Felton is original L's Up guy. That second year of college for us, we started L's Up, and he was a part of that. And it opens our eyes up, and that's why we got to do it every single year, because you never can predict the future. We're blessed to be here today, but it's not guaranteed tomorrow.
I think just like with E, when I came here, I was 17 years old. So, I mean, I think I grew up here. I mean, it was like a second home. I wanted to get out of Los Angeles. And for me to be here for 4 years, I mean, this was like a second home for me. And I think that I just felt the warmth whenever I was here. Mm-hmm. And even when I come back today, even just seeing, you know, old faces and being around you guys, it's just something about this city. I mean, I spent so much time here and traveling and playing the games for UofL. I mean, it's like home for me.
Cool. Case.
At the end of the day, it's you guys. I mean, the city of Louisville, coming from a small town, Indiana. I mean, I grew up, 15 minutes from where they made the movie Hoosiers. I mean, to come here, the big city, I consider a big city, but be here with you guys, my brothers. And then, you know, just like we went to the Shell station to get a water today. And I didn't get a lot of clock. I mean, I didn't get as much clock as you guys. But then the guy was talking to Cornelius. He goes, "Is that my case?" I'm like, man, it's been how many years ago? The dude knew who I was. You know, it's
35 years
just
ago.
stuff like that. It makes you feel special, and it brings back that nostalgia, that remembrance of, you know, why I came here and how it's impacted me. And, you know, I've been in healthcare sales for 25 years, and every time that I've started with a new company, I'll ask the hiring manager, okay, I've got my experience and all that, but seriously, what is it about me that made you want to hire me? He says, you're a former athlete. You played at the second highest level you could play. You played at one of the top schools in the country. You didn't get there by chance. You did it through hard work, but dedication, blah, blah, blah. So it's a gift that keeps on giving, but at the end of the day, it's about you guys, man. I mean, I love the city of Louisville. I love just being here. If I hadn't met my wife, I'd probably still be living here. But it's you guys. It's the brotherhood that we formed through our years here. So
Just for people that don't know what you guys are doing now, tell everybody what you're doing right now. Mike, you talk
I'm
about
in
healthcare.
healthcare sales, pharmaceutical sales, been doing it for 25 years. And currently right now I'm with a company called UofL Medical. It's a smaller rare disease company. I call on gastroenterologist, and I cover the entire state of Indiana and go down to, I cover about a quarter of Kentucky. And that's what I do right now.
I'm a high school coach in Los Angeles, Brentwood High School, and I also work with a lot of young kids trying to get them into higher level learning schools. Like, for instance, the school I'm at, Brentwood, we pretty much try to get kids from inner city and give them scholarships to go to school there. So we have a lot of celebrity kids there at the school, but it's very high academics. But to be able to recruit kids from all over to come to the school, I think that's a blessing. But I enjoy coaching more than anything.
I'm going into my 8th season at Lenore Ryan University, which is in Hickory, North Carolina, liberal arts university. Great athletics, great academics. I was at Georgia State and Eastern Kentucky and kind of worked my way up through the junior college ranks after my pro career overseas. I think I played for about 8 or 9 years. I just felt I wanted to stay around the game, but more than anything, I felt like if I could help young guys' dreams come true, eventually my dream will come true, whatever it was. And it played out perfectly there. I didn't, you know, people's like, why you ain't go Division I? Why you in the division? Why you ain't chasing? Why you not trying to get back on Louisville? I had to figure out what was the best fit for me and my family. And I was able to position myself to be a head coach, and it wasn't about level. It was about what was the program or the university and the support system around me that was going to allow me to be who I am and for me to do the best job I could possibly do. And Lenore Ryan's been great for me, and you know, just trying to pour into the guys and make sure I continue to graduate them and put them in a position to be successful young men.
Last question. We all got recruited by a lot of different schools across the country. Me in basketball, football, track. I know a lot of people did other sports as well. But if you had to do it all over again, would you have chosen Louisville?
Absolutely, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No doubt.
Yeah, that's easy. That's easy.
I wouldn't have this right here.
You can't replace these memories we had
Right.
here.
There's a reason people are still trying to get the essence in the feeling that we had. They're looking for that. Mm-hmm. Fans now, they had a little bit, you know, after us, but it was probably at a time when Coach Crum won the 80 and the 86, and us coming through, like you couldn't go anywhere in the city without people understand. Barbershop, if you lost, you didn't even want to go get a haircut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, if you lost too many, you're getting drug tested.
Yeah, you know. And so that's why, like, and people know that. Mm-hmm. So if I had to choose it, I'm going to do it all over again, because we went to the Sweet 16. It ain't many guys out there can say they made it to the Sweet 16 and probably had a chance to make it to the Final Four if Perv don't get hurt. Mm-hmm. So there's a backstory to every year we had here, and but the opportunity and the position when it's all about how do you position yourself to be the best that you possibly can be, and there's no way in my mind that I can say Louisville didn't do that for me.
Yeah, I just think the overall experience of just being here, not just with sports, just, you know, living in Stevenson Hall, walking to the Student Center, you know, just classes in all the different parts of the, you know, across campus. I mean, I still remember those walks like yesterday. So you can't replace those memories. So
I do have one last question to ask. Based upon everything that we just talked about, the love for the university, I have one question for you, Sully. Why'd you do it to us in preseason last year? I'm messing with you. You don't have to answer that question.
It was, you know what? That was the first time I ever been in the UofL. When I look at the whole how that thing played out, like I would have never been there. I wouldn't have bet any money on us winning that game. We went in there. I knew I had to see a little bit of a Goliath in terms of the talent, but it just played out right. And nowadays, you should know. You just look at the preseason, guys overseas losing. Like you can lose to anybody because of the transfer portal. Major teams, Florida Atlantic just made it all the way to the Final Four. Yeah. So it don't matter anyway. I think you got to a little bit have to take the Division II, Division I, and don't worry about that. And just got to go into it and say, man, there's good teams everywhere. And on any given night, somebody can get you.
That was a tough game to watch because you didn't know who to root for.
Right.
I was going to say, right?
But I would tell you this, at the same time, I talked to KP. That loss made them and will make them better for the next few years because you can always use that as an example. Do you want to lose to a Division II team or whatever? Yeah. But it's going to make them better because you can't take any team for granted anymore.
Yes.
They lace them up just like us.
Exactly.
Coach Jones used to always say they have scholarship players just like us.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
no question. Yeah, you got to give KP credit for playing me. Like he didn't have to do that.
Right.
There's another sign of how close that brotherhood was, and for him for a university who don't have the resources, who sometimes you financially dependent on, somebody giving you a chance and paying you some money to help your program throughout the course of the season. He didn't have to do that, and as much as that probably hurt him, and in terms of how everybody looked at it and viewed it, it was nothing but even made me now more indebted to him. Like if you need anything from me, like if there's anything out there. You call me and I got you. And I did that throughout the course of the year just to make sure he was good. Don't listen. Just keep doing what you're doing and do it at a high level, the best that you can, and it'll all fall in place.
We're going to be back. We're going to be back no matter what. No matter what they have to say about what happened last year. Last year was last year. We're going to be back.
We'll be back soon, too.
Yep.
Guys, we got to come to the end of the show. I know that we only have a few minutes, but I want to thank you guys for spending some time with us today.
Thanks for having us,
Boo Brewer, I know you're probably going to be watching this. We're sorry you couldn't make it here. I know you're in Barstown doing your thing, so we'll get you on another time. But fellas, thanks for coming in. I couldn't be who I am without you guys, no doubt. When I first came here, now you guys know I have a brother that's older than me that I didn't grow up with. So the first opportunity for me to have any kind of brotherhood for an extended period of time were you guys. So if anybody asks me how many brothers I have 6. I have 6. I have you 3, Boo, Doug Calhoun, and my biological brother. So I appreciate you guys for being who you are, making me who I am, and just being there for me at different points of my life. Because honestly, I didn't know how much I needed you guys until after you guys graduated and left. And that's really, I knew we were close, but once you guys left, it made me realize this is something I've never had before and probably won't ever have again. So I just want to thank you for being here because this year, this week, as we come back every week throughout the year, this is the best week of my life, man. I appreciate it.
For sure.
Well, I appreciate it. I want to say this to you too. Like what you're doing, how you've taken basketball and used it as a portal to break down doors and open up opportunities for you in different avenues. It's been important and very valuable than what you think in terms of how we are using it. Because I use you all the time with my teams.
I think we all
I use you with my daughter. I use you like, you don't know, like, I've had 3 jobs where I've been the first black head coach. So I got to represent myself and carry myself to make sure the next young man who look like me gets that same opportunity. And when I look at you, you're doing the exact same thing in a different lane, man. I'm proud of you. And
I appreciate
if you need anything from me, we love you. We're here for you.
I got your phone number.
My son knows you well, but he's never met you. But he knows you well.
All right.
Ditto. Same here, man.
All right, guys. Well, we come to the end of the show, and like we like to close out every show. Doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter what I think. At the end of the day, it's all a matter of perspective. Fellas, thanks for being here.
Thank
today.
you.
Let's go have some fun now.
All right.